So here is something that we're hearing a lot about: the Airbnb bust. Airbnbs are empty, at least that's what it seems like to some Airbnb hosts. There's a 23% year over year increase in availability of short-term rentals. A report this week by property broker Picasso found that sales of luxury second homes and investment properties were up 235% from April to June of this year compared to pre-pandemic levels. Picasso's researchers have found that sales of those properties had increased 25% year over year in that time period. In other words, in this past year, we've seen almost 2.5 times more sales of luxury and second properties and investment properties. It says a lot of the supply in these markets shifted away from the for sale market and long-term rental market towards the short-term rental amidst a surge of demands for Airbnbs and other vacation rentals. Especially last year, there was a lot of travel last year as COVID restrictions started to loosen. Occupancy rates fell in 31 of the top 50 largest U.S. short-term rental markets from July through September, according to AirDNA. With some Airbnb hosts experiencing declining occupancy rates, Airbnb is by and large having a banner year. Demand is still rising every month, and so are Airbnb's bookings and revenue, says Lane, although hosts in some markets are seeing a correction. After a pandemic-driven boom, on the whole, demand remains very strong, and we aren't seeing an Airbnb bust. Here's a story from Jim Ewing, who's an Airbnb host, as a social media post about his property's occupancy rate. He says that in Desert Hot Springs, California, he dropped from 80% occupancy to 0% occupancy this past spring and hasn't rebounded since. We haven't had a single booking since June, he says. The city of Desert Hot Springs, where Ewing began listing his Airbnb property last October, is located in the Coachella Valley. That's one of the markets where occupancy rates have fallen by the greatest percentage in the last 3 months, according to AirDNA. Well, in Coachella Valley, there's that very famous festival, Coachella, so I'm sure he gets a lot of bookings around that time. It's like April or May, but other parts of the year maybe not so hot. It says when we first listed in October, it had every weekend covered. 70 to 80% occupancy every month, November through April. This year, we've had no one in October, and we've had no one booked for November, so it's been extremely slow. It's the upside for travelers. According to AirDNA, that means if occupancy rates continue to drop, price rates are likely to be pushed down as hosts bid to get more bookings. So it's good news for people who still want to travel that prices will continue to decrease as the hosts bid for their business. Something that's troubling about the Airbnb bust is the fact that there are the DSCR loans, which are loans that are given based on the expected income of the short-term rental property. In other words, the loan is based on the money that the owner expects to make off of renting out the home to Airbnb. If there are no profits coming into that Airbnb, then there might be a problem paying that loan. I'm curious to see if my timing for leaving the short-term market is the right move, and if in 6 months or 12 months Airbnb becomes a bad investment for people.